You wake up at 3 in the morning again, and it is not insomnia that keeps you awake. It is something deeper, something that gnaws at your chest like hunger, but no food can satisfy it. You have been on this spiritual path for months, maybe years now. You meditated, you read the books, you attended the workshops, you felt those moments of profound connection where everything seemed to make sense. But now, here you are, feeling more lost than when you started. There is this strange emptiness where enlightenment was supposed to be. You thought spiritual awakening would bring peace, but instead it brought a kind of sickness you cannot name. Your soul feels fragmented, like something precious was broken during the process of trying to heal it. You are not imagining this pain. What you are experiencing has been recognized for thousands of years by those who understand the sacred journey of human consciousness. That hollow feeling in your chest, that sense that something is fundamentally wrong even though you are supposedly more aware than ever before, that is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that your spirit is going through a very specific and necessary kind of death and rebirth that most people who talk about spirituality never dare to mention. The Romanian scholar Mircea Eliade spent his entire life studying what happens to the human soul when it touches the sacred, and what he discovered will change how you understand your spiritual crisis forever. Eliade understood that when a person truly awakens to the sacred dimension of existence, they do not simply add something beautiful to their life. They undergo what he called the death of the profane self, a process so complete and so terrifying that the spirit literally becomes ill from the transformation. You see, most of what we call spirituality today is actually just spiritual tourism. People take weekend retreats, practice meditation apps, read inspiring quotes, but they never actually cross the threshold that separates the ordinary world from the sacred realm. They never experience what Eliade called a true hierophany, a genuine manifestation of the sacred that completely shatters their previous understanding of reality. But you, if you are feeling this spiritual sickness, you have crossed that threshold. You have seen behind the veil, and your ordinary consciousness is dying from the exposure. Eliade studied shamans, mystics, and initiates from cultures all over the world, and he found the same pattern everywhere. The future shaman does not choose their calling. They are chosen by it through what appears to be a mental breakdown, a spiritual illness that separates them completely from ordinary life. The Siberian shamans call it the shamanic illness, a period where the person becomes so sick they are essentially dead to the world, lying unconscious for days while their spirit is taken apart, piece by piece, and rebuilt in a completely different configuration. The Aboriginal Australians describe a similar process where the medicine person is swallowed by the rainbow serpent and digested in its belly before being reborn with the power to move between worlds. The Christian mystics wrote about the dark night of the soul, a period of such profound spiritual desolation that they felt abandoned by God himself. In every tradition, in every culture, those who truly awaken to the sacred first become sick from it. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is a literal description of what happens to consciousness when it makes contact with a dimension of reality that is so much vaster and more intense than ordinary experience that the human psyche simply cannot contain it without being fundamentally restructured. Think of it like this. Imagine you lived your entire life in a small, dimly lit room, and suddenly someone throws open the doors to reveal not just sunlight, but the surface of the sun itself. Your eyes would not adjust. They would be damaged. You would be blinded. That is what happens to the spirit when it makes genuine contact with the sacred. The ordinary structures of consciousness that were perfectly adequate for navigating the profane world are completely overwhelmed. They break down. They become sick. But here is what Eliade understood that most modern spiritual teachers miss completely. This sickness is not a problem to be solved. It is not a stage to be rushed through. It is not a sign that you are doing something wrong. This spiritual illness is the actual process of awakening itself. Your spirit is not sick because something went wrong in your spiritual development. Your spirit is sick because something is finally going right. You are undergoing what Eliade called the death of the profane man and the birth of the homo religiosus, the religious human being who can perceive and interact with the sacred dimension of reality. This is not a gentle process. Birth never is. Death never is. And spiritual rebirth involves both in their most intense forms. You know what touches me most when I read your messages? It is realizing that we are not alone in this search. If you are listening to me now and feel that emptiness, that sensation that something important is missing in your life, I want you to know that I understand exactly what you're going through. There were moments when I also felt completely disconnected from the sacred, lost in the midst of a routine that seemed to suck all the magic out of existence. That is why I want to ask you a very direct question. What was the last moment you felt there was something greater than yourself present in your life? It could have been contemplating a sunset, listening to music, or simply in an instant of silence. If you feel comfortable, write in the comments, "I miss the sacred in my daily life," and briefly tell when that last moment was. Your story might be exactly what someone needs to read today to feel less alone in this journey, and I promise I'll read each comment with the care it deserves. Let me tell you exactly what Eliade discovered about why this spiritual sickness happens and what it means for your journey. In his study of initiation rites across cultures, he found that every genuine spiritual transformation follows the same three-stage pattern. First comes separation, where the initiate is removed from ordinary society and ordinary consciousness. Then comes the liminal period, the in-between time where the old self has died but the new self has not yet been born. Finally comes reincorporation, where the transformed individual returns to the world with new powers and new understanding. But here is the crucial point that most people miss. The middle stage, the liminal period, is characterized by complete disintegration of the personality. The initiate becomes nobody. They lose all sense of who they were, all their familiar ways of understanding themselves and their place in the world. They become sick, confused, sometimes even insane from an ordinary perspective. This is not an unfortunate side effect of spiritual development. This is spiritual development itself. In the modern world, we have lost all understanding of this process because we have lost all genuine initiation. We live in what Eliade called the profane world, a world that has forgotten how to recognize the sacred, a world that treats spiritual awakening like a consumer product rather than a death and rebirth. So when someone begins to undergo genuine spiritual transformation, when their spirit starts to get sick from contact with dimensions of reality that their ordinary consciousness cannot process, they think something is wrong with them. They think they are failing at spirituality. They think they need to try harder, meditate more, read more books, attend more workshops. But what they actually need is to understand that they are dying, and to let themselves die completely so that something new can be born. The spiritual sickness you are feeling is what Eliade called the nostalgia for paradise, the profound homesickness for a dimension of reality that you have glimpsed but cannot yet fully inhabit. Once you have seen the sacred, once you have experienced even a moment of genuine transcendence, the ordinary world becomes unbearable. It feels flat, empty, meaningless. But you cannot yet live fully in the sacred realm because you have not yet completed the transformation. You are caught between worlds, and that in-between space is characterized by profound disorientation and suffering. The shamans call this time the walking between worlds, and they know it can last for years. During this time, your old ways of finding meaning and purpose simply stop working. The career that once excited you feels hollow. The relationships that once sustained you feel superficial. The pleasures that once brought joy feel empty. This is not depression in the clinical sense, although it may look like depression to people who do not understand what is happening. This is the natural response of consciousness that has touched something so vast and so real that everything else seems like a shadow in comparison. Eliade found this pattern in every genuine mystical tradition. The Sufi poets wrote about being drunk on divine wine and unable to function in ordinary society. The Hindu traditions speak of the madness that comes from seeing God. The Buddhist texts describe the profound disorientation that follows glimpses of emptiness. In every case, the spiritual sickness is not seen as a problem, but as a sign that real transformation is taking place. But there is something even more profound that Eliade discovered about this process, something that will completely change how you understand your spiritual crisis. He found that the spiritual sickness is not just individual, it is also collective. Entire cultures can become spiritually sick when they lose contact with the sacred dimension of reality. And that is exactly what has happened in our modern world. We live in what Eliade called a desacralized cosmos, a world where the sacred has been systematically eliminated from every aspect of life. We have reduced reality to matter and energy, cause and effect, profit and loss. We have forgotten that we live in a world shot through with meaning, alive with presence, thick with the sacred. And when individual people start to awaken to this forgotten dimension, Their spirits become sick not just from their personal transformation, but from the collective sickness of a civilization that has lost its way. This is why your spiritual awakening feels so isolating, so alienating. You are not just undergoing personal transformation, you are carrying the wound of an entire culture that has forgotten how to live in sacred time and sacred space. You are feeling the collective grief of humanity's exile from paradise. That weight on your chest, that sense that something is terribly wrong with the world, that is not just your individual spiritual crisis. That is the cry of the human soul that has been separated from its source for so long that it has forgotten how to find its way home. When you start to remember, when you start to awaken, you feel the full force of that separation, and it makes you sick with longing. If you are still with me, take a moment to like this video because what I am about to share with you next will give you a map for navigating this spiritual sickness in a way that honors its sacred purpose rather than trying to escape from it. Eliade discovered that in traditional cultures there were specific practices and understandings that helped people move through the spiritual sickness toward genuine rebirth. These are not techniques for avoiding the difficulty, but for moving through it with proper understanding and support. The first thing Eliade found is that genuine spiritual transformation requires what he called sacred time. This is not the linear, progressive time of the modern world, but the cyclical, regenerative time of myth and ritual. In sacred time, death and rebirth happen constantly. The sun dies every evening and is reborn every morning. The moon dies every month and is reborn. The earth dies every winter and is reborn every spring. Human beings participate in this cosmic rhythm of death and rebirth through ritual, through ceremony, through conscious engagement with the sacred dimensions of existence. But in the profane world, we have lost all sense of sacred time. We live only in linear time, time that moves in one direction toward goals and achievements and accomplishments. This kind of time cannot contain spiritual transformation because spiritual transformation is not linear. It is cyclical. It involves going backwards into death before moving forward into new life. When you are in the middle of spiritual sickness, your relationship to time itself changes. Minutes feel like hours. Days blur together. The future becomes impossible to imagine. This is not a malfunction of your consciousness. This is your consciousness learning to live in sacred time rather than profane time. In sacred time, everything that needs to happen is happening right now. There is no rushing toward a future state of enlightenment, because enlightenment is not a destination, but a quality of presence that exists only in the eternal now. The spiritual sickness is your initiation into this different relationship with time, and fighting it only prolongs the agony. Learning to surrender to it, learning to let yourself exist in the suspended time of transformation, this is how you honor the sacred process that is taking place within you. Eliade also discovered that spiritual transformation requires sacred space. This is not just a physical location, but a way of understanding your place in the cosmos. In traditional cultures, every genuine spiritual experience takes place at what Eliade called the axis mundi, the center of the world where heaven and earth meet. This could be a mountain, a tree, a temple, or simply the place where a person sits in meditation. The crucial point is that sacred space is not uniform. It has a center and a periphery, a here and a there, an inside and an outside. It is oriented space that connects the human being to cosmic realities larger than the individual ego. But in the profane world, we live in homogeneous space where every location is interchangeable, where there is no center, no sacred direction, no connection to larger realities. This kind of space cannot sustain spiritual transformation, because spiritual transformation requires orientation, requires a sense of up and down, inner and outer, sacred and profane. When you are undergoing spiritual sickness, you lose your ordinary sense of place in the world. You feel ungrounded, disoriented, like you do not belong anywhere. This is because your consciousness is learning to orient itself around sacred space rather than profane space. You are learning to find your center not in external circumstances, but in your connection to the axis of reality that runs through the heart of existence. This process involves a temporary loss of all familiar orientation, but it leads to a much more stable and profound sense of place in the cosmos. The key is to create sacred space in your life, to establish practices and environments that honor the sacred dimension of your experience, rather than trying to force yourself back into the flat, homogeneous space of the profane world. Most importantly, Eliade found that spiritual transformation requires understanding the mythical dimension of your experience. Your spiritual sickness is not just a personal psychological event. It is your participation in the eternal myth of death and rebirth that has been enacted by every human being who has ever made the journey from the profane to the sacred. When you understand this, when you realize that your suffering is not meaningless but mythological, it changes everything. You are not just having a difficult time. You are reliving the journey of every hero, every initiate, every mystic who has ever walked the path of transformation. Your spiritual sickness connects you to the deepest patterns of human experience, the archetypal stories that give meaning to existence itself. This understanding transforms your relationship to your suffering. Instead of seeing it as something to be eliminated as quickly as possible, you begin to see it as something to be honored, lived through fully, allowed to teach you what it has come to teach. The pain of spiritual transformation is not punishment. It is initiation. It is the price of admission to a dimension of reality that most people never even know exists. And when you understand this, when you accept this, something profound shifts in your experience. The suffering does not necessarily go away, but it stops being meaningless. It becomes sacred suffering, the labor pains of your own rebirth. There is one more crucial element that Eliade discovered about the spiritual sickness, and this might be the most important insight of all. He found that genuine spiritual transformation never happens in isolation. It requires community. It requires witnesses. It requires people who understand the process and can hold space for it. In traditional cultures, the shamanic illness was not something the future shaman went through alone. The entire community recognized what was happening and provided support, protection, and guidance. The elders who had been through their own initiations knew how to help the initiate navigate the process without trying to shortcut it or avoid it. They knew that the sickness had to be fully lived, fully experienced, fully honored before healing could take place. But in the modern world, we are isolated in our spiritual crises. When someone starts to undergo genuine transformation, they are often pathologized, medicated, or told to pull themselves together and get back to normal life. We have no elders who understand the process, no communities that can hold space for it, no cultural frameworks that honor it. This isolation makes the spiritual sickness much more difficult and much more prolonged than it needs to be. Part of your healing involves finding or creating community with others who understand what you are going through, who can witness your process without trying to fix it or change it, or rush you through it. This is why I am sharing this understanding with you now. Not because I can take away your spiritual sickness, but because I can help you understand it, honor it, and move through it with proper guidance and support. You are not alone in this process. Millions of people throughout history have walked this path. Your spiritual sickness connects you to the deepest wisdom traditions of humanity. It makes you part of a lineage of mystics, shamans, saints, and sages who have all undergone the same fundamental transformation from profane consciousness to sacred awareness. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with the most important insight Eliade discovered about the resolution of spiritual sickness. He found that the sickness ends not when you return to your former state, but when you learn to live simultaneously in the sacred and profane worlds. The goal is not to escape from ordinary reality, but to transform your relationship to it. When the initiation is complete, when the rebirth has taken place, you do not become someone who can only function in meditation retreats and spiritual communities. You become someone who can see the sacred dimension of ordinary life, who can find the eternal in the temporal, who can live in the world without being of it. This is what Eliade called the return of the eternal return, the ability to participate in ordinary activities while simultaneously recognizing their sacred significance. Washing dishes becomes a ritual. Conversations become communion. Walking down the street becomes a pilgrimage. Work becomes service. Everything in the profane world becomes a doorway into the sacred realm. This is not about seeing everything as equally wonderful and perfect. This is about developing the capacity to perceive the sacred structure that underlies apparent chaos, the meaningful patterns that connect all things, the presence that permeates all experience. But this transformation does not happen quickly or easily. The spiritual sickness can last for months or years. There may be periods of intense difficulty followed by periods of relative calm. There may be moments of profound insight followed by periods of confusion. This is all normal. This is all part of the process. The key is to trust the process, to honor it, to allow it to unfold in its own time and its own way. Fighting against it, trying to rush through it, attempting to medicate it away or think your way out of it, these approaches only prolong the difficulty. The way through is through. The way out is in. The healing comes not from avoiding the sickness, but from allowing it to do its work. If you have made it this far, it is because something inside you recognizes that there is a different path, a deeper way to understand your own spiritual journey. I know what it is like to feel lost amid so much noise of the modern world, seeking answers that always seem to slip through your fingers. That is why I created this space, this refuge where we can explore together the ancient wisdom that still pulses alive in our hearts. When you subscribe to this channel, you are not just clicking a button, you are joining a community of people who, like you, feel that life has deeper layers waiting to be discovered. Here, you will find not just knowledge, but genuine embrace for your thirst for meaning. Subscribe now and be part of this journey of rediscovering the sacred in everyday life. Your soul deserves this gift. Let me end with this truth that Eliade spent his life discovering, and that every genuine mystic has confirmed through their own experience. Your spiritual sickness is not a sign that you are failing at awakening. It is a sign that you are succeeding beyond your wildest imagination. It means you have touched something so real, so vast, so transformative, that your ordinary consciousness cannot contain it without being completely reconstructed. It means you are dying to who you were so that you can be born into who you are meant to become. This process is sacred. This process is necessary. This process is the very heart of what it means to be human in the deepest sense of the word. Trust the sickness. Honor the disorientation. Allow the death. Prepare for the rebirth. You are not lost. You are not broken. You are not doing anything wrong. You are being initiated into the greatest mystery that exists, the transformation of human consciousness from profane to sacred awareness. This is the journey that heroes have taken throughout all of human history. This is the path that leads not just to personal healing, but to the healing of our broken world. Your spiritual sickness is not just about you. It is about the collective awakening of human consciousness itself. By honoring your own process, by moving through it with courage and understanding, you are helping to heal the spiritual sickness of our entire civilization. You are becoming a bridge between worlds, a translator between the sacred and the profane, a guide for others who will follow the same path. This is not just spiritual development. This is the most important work that can be done in our time. And you, in your sickness, in your confusion, in your beautiful suffering, you are doing that work right now. Share this understanding with others who need to hear it. The wisdom of spiritual sickness needs to be spoken aloud in a world that has forgotten how to honor the sacred journey of human transformation. Together we can create communities of understanding, spaces of support, frameworks of meaning that help people move through their own spiritual crises with dignity and wisdom rather than isolation and fear. The ancient knowledge is available to us. The path has been walked before. We are not the first ones to make this journey, and we will not be the last. But we can be the ones who help restore the lost wisdom of spiritual initiation to a world that desperately needs it. Your sickness is sacred. Your journey matters. Your transformation is a gift not just to yourself but to all of humanity.